guys, and welcome back to Reading Club. So today I'm going to read you My Weird School, Mr. Klutz is Nuts, Chapter 9 and Chapter 10. Chapter 9, I pledge allegiance to Mr. Klutz. I want to congratulate all you kids, Mr. Klutz said over the loudspeaker on Monday morning during announcements. You did it! 1 million math problems. That's quite an accomplishment. See, all you needed was a little incentive. This had been such a huge success that I have decided to challenge you again, he continued. Election day is coming up in November. This is a very important day in America. I think every child in this school should write an essay about what it means to have elections. And if you achieve this goal by election day, I will climb the flagpole in front of the school and recite the Pledge of Allegiance when I get to the top. I hope he doesn't hurt himself again, said Emily. I write my essay during recess, said Andrea, who always does everything the second any grown-up tells her to do, instead of waiting as long as possible, like a normal kid. Couldn't we just write one essay for the whole class? I asked Miss Daisy. That would be a lot easier. Mr. Klutz's voice came out of the loudspeaker again. I know some of you will ask if you can write a class essay. The answer is no. If you want to see me shiny up the flagpole, each student must write their own essay. That's my final offer. Take it or leave it. And I'll tell you what. When we have all the essays, I will send them to the president to read. Have a nice day. The thought of the president of the United States reading our personal words was pretty cool, I had to admit. Everybody finished their election day essays so quickly, we were done a week before election day. Some kids, like Andrea, even wrote 2 essays. On the morning of election day, all the students and teachers gathered on the grass in front of the school. Mr. Klutz came out of the door. He was wearing a red, white, and blue Uncle Sam costume. He also had on sneakers and one of those harnesses that lumberjacks use to climb trees. His leg was all better, and he didn't walk with a cane anymore. We all let out a roar when Mr. Klutz started to shinny up the flagpole. I was a little afraid that he was going to fall and break his leg or something, but he didn't. For a principal, he was a good climber. When he got to the top, we all recited the Pledge of Allegiance with him. Then everybody let out a cheer. When he was sliding down the flagpole, Mr. Klutz got his foot caught in the rope that held the flag. As he was trying to get his foot loose, his hand slipped and he fell. The next thing we knew, Mr. Klutz was hanging upside down from the flagpole. His Uncle Sam hat fell off. Everybody gasped. Mr. Klutz was just hanging there halfway up the flagpole like he was another flag or something. It would have been the funniest thing in the history of the world if we didn't honestly think Mr. Klutz was going to fall and land on his head. Help! He shouted. My foot is caught in the rope. Quickly, get some pads from the gym for him to land on, yelled Mrs. Ruby, the school librarian. Call the fire department, yelled Mrs. Cooney, the nurse. Everybody was running around like crazy and nobody knew what to do. It looked like Mr. Klutz would have to just hang there from the flagpole all day. He'll figure a way out of this, I told the kids in my class. When the blood rushes to his head, it helps him think. But it was Miss Daisy who came up with the great idea. She went over to the bottom of the flagpole where the rope is tied up. She took the knot out and held both ends of the rope tight. Then, slowly and carefully, she began to let out some rope and lower Mr. Klutz down the flagpole, just like he was a regular flag. When he reached the bottom, the teachers caught him and loosened the rope from his foot. He was okay, he said, except from the rope burned on his leg. Hooray for Miss Daisy, our class cheered. After he was back on the ground, Mr. Klutz got up, brushed himself off, and walked up the front steps like it was totally normal for a principal to hang upside down from a flagpole. Mr. Klutz is nuts. Chapter 10. Mr. Klutz is getting weirder. Your election day essays were fantastic, Mr. Klutz told our class the next morning. He had a big bandage wrapped around his head. I'm guessing he must have either crashed his skateboard again or found another flagpole to fall off. Thank you, we all said. But I was a little surprised by the number of spelling errors I found in them, he continued. We need to improve the spelling at our school. So here's what I have decided to do. If you students can write out a list of 100,000 spelling words by Thanksgiving, I will dress up in a turkey costume and ride a pogo stick down Main Street. Yay! Everybody hollered. How about 1,000 spelling words? Shouted Ryan. 100,000 spelling words, Mr. Klutz repeated. That's my final offer. Take it or leave it. And every word must be spelled correctly. Have a nice day. During lunch, I was sure that Andrea was going to start her list of spelling words just to show how smart she was. But she didn't. She just kind of sat there, picking at her food quietly. You know, I've been thinking, she finally said, and beginning to wonder if something might be wrong with Mr. Klutz. Like what? Emily asked. Maybe he has some kind of a personal problem. What do you mean? Michael asked. Mr. Klutz is a cool guy. Would you rather have a boring principal? My mother is a physiologist, Andrea said, and she says that people sometimes do weird things for reasons that are buried deep within their mind. What does that mean? I asked. It means she thinks Mr. Klutz is nuts, said Michael. I didn't say that, Andrea went on. All I'm saying is that maybe he didn't want to climb up the flagpole. Maybe he doesn't want to put on a turkey costume. Maybe he just wants people to like him, and the only way he knows to show that is to do nutty things. Maybe he's a sad and happy man. Maybe all he wants is a hug or something. That's the saddest story I ever heard, Emily said. Then she started sobbing. Me, Ryan, and Michael looked at one another. We all rolled our eyes up in our heads. Mr. Klutz is cool, Ryan said. You're the one who has some kind of a personal problem, Andrea. Maybe Mr. Klutz is nuts, I said. In fact, maybe he's not a principal at all. Did you ever think of that? Maybe Mr. Klutz escaped from a home from the crime alley insane, and he's just pretending to be a principal. Maybe our real principal is tied up to a chair in the dungeon down in the basement. My friend Billy told me. There's no dungeon down in the basement, Emily insisted. That's just one of those urban legends. Sure, that's just what he wants us to believe, I told Emily. He doesn't want us to know our real principal is tied up to a chair down there. He probably tortures him during summer vacations. I think you guys are nuts, Emily said. I'm worried about Mr. Klutz, Andrea said, biting her fingernails. So that's the end of this channel. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please click many likes to the Fair Reading Club. So I'll come back later with a new and improved channel. Bye, everybody. See you later.